So what does it really take to land one of those top-tier data engineering jobs in India? Well, we're about to break down the exact skills that separate a pretty good salary from, life-changing compensation. And this is all based on what the market is screaming for as we head into 2025.
Okay, first things first, let's just talk numbers so you can see why this matters so much. On one hand, you've got the average data engineer salary. Totally respectable, right? 8 to 12 lakhs. But then you look at the top 10%, and they're pulling in over 51 lakhs a year. I mean, that's not just a small bump. That's a massive, massive premium. And that is the gap we're going to talk about bridging today.
So the big question is, what skills actually unlock that kind of money? What's the secret sauce? I'll tell you right now. It's not about knowing a little bit of everything. No, it's about a very, very specific and strategic way of thinking about your career.
All right, so that leads us right to the blueprint for success. The big idea here, what the top employers are really looking for, isn't some jack of all trades. It's what's called a T-shaped profile. And honestly, this is the model you need to be thinking about for 2025. So what on earth is a T-shaped profile? It's pretty simple, actually. Just picture the letter T. That horizontal bar across the top, that's your broad, solid foundation of core skills, the stuff everyone needs to have. But then you've got that vertical bar, the stem of the T. That represents a deep, specialized knowledge in one key area. And it's that combo, that breadth plus depth, that companies are willing to pay top dollar for. Okay, let's really dig into this T. The horizontal part, think of this as your non-negotiable foundation. And I'm not talking about just the basics here. We're talking advanced SQL, we're talking engineering-grade Python, really solid data modeling, and being fluent in the cloud. Then you have the vertical bar. That is your deep dive. That's your specialization. And trust me, that's the part that really makes you stand out and unlocks those incredible salaries. So let's start with the foundation, that horizontal bar. Let me be crystal clear about this. These skills are absolutely non-negotiable. If you haven't mastered these, the conversation with a top company, well, it's just not going to happen, period. You know, there's a reason the analysis we're looking at calls this the interview gauntlet. It's because you just can't fake your way through this stuff. You have to have deep, real, demonstrable skills. It's just the price of admission to the big leagues. Still not convinced how important this is? Okay, think about this. Somebody looked at 100 of these high-paying job descriptions, and guess what? A whopping 85 of them listed advanced SQL as a primary requirement. 85 out of 100. It is, without a doubt, the single most demanded skill out there. And look at the depth they expect. We're not talking about beginner stuff. For SQL, they want to see you nail window functions and solve elite code problems, the medium and hard ones. For Python, they're going to grill you on real engineering concepts, like using generators to save memory. And for data modeling, you better be ready to get up at a whiteboard and draw out schemas and explain complex stuff like SCD Type 2, just off the top of your head. All right, so once you've got those fundamentals locked down, the next layer of that foundation is all about mastering the modern tools that actually put those concepts to work. And you know the names. We're talking about the big three: Spark, the cloud, and Airflow. And just to show you the kind of depth we're talking about, let's take Spark, for example. You know, in a senior interview, they're not going to ask you about basic filters. No way. They're going to go straight for optimization. They'll ask you about something called the shuffle, which is this hugely expensive operation that can absolutely destroy your performance if you don't know what you're doing. In fact, I'll let you in on a little secret. Probably the #1 Spark interview question for senior roles is this: how do you minimize the shuffle? And a top-tier candidate, they're expected to just, boom, fire back with strategies like broadcast joins or why data partitioning is so critical, no hesitation. And this brings up a really key point about cloud skills. Recruiters get it. They see experience in one major cloud, like AWS, as being totally transferable to another, like GCP or Azure. I mean, whether you call it S3 or Google Cloud Storage, object storage is object storage, right? The key is to master one ecosystem, and you'll be able to adapt to the others, no problem. And finally, let's hit on Airflow. Again, senior-level questions are not going to be about writing some simple happy path DAG. Nope. They're going to throw real-world, messy production scenarios at you. Can you explain the pros and cons of a Celery versus a Kubernetes executor? How would you handle a backfill for the last 3 months of data? Answering these kinds of questions, that's what proves you're a real engineer, and not just somebody who can write a script. Okay, So let's say your foundation is absolutely rock solid. You've done the work. Now you've arrived at what is probably the single most important strategic decision of your entire career. It's time to choose the vertical bar of your T. It's time to specialize. And why is this so critical? Because right now the market has clearly split right down the middle. There are two and only two dominant high-demand stacks. The analysis actually calls this the great bifurcation. And the reality is you can't be a master of both. You have to pick a side. You have to choose your path. So what are these two paths? Well, here they are. Path number one is the Lakehouse stack. This whole world revolves around Databricks. It's all about PySpark optimization, and it's built for massive data sets and supporting AI and ML. Path number two is the Cloud Warehouse stack. This is the Snowflake universe. It's super SQL heavy, uses amazing tools like dbt for transformations, and it really rules the world of BI and analytics. So I really want you to hear this because it's maybe the most important takeaway. Trying to be a generalist, trying to know a little about Databricks and a little about Snowflake, that is a losing strategy if you're aiming for the top jobs. To get that top-tier salary, you must become a deep specialist in one of them.
Okay, so we've laid out the landscape. We know what the market wants. Now, let's get practical. Let's turn this knowledge into an actual, concrete plan. This is your step-by-step roadmap to breaking into that top 25%.
Here it is, 4 simple steps. Step 1, solidify that foundation. Grind advanced SQL and Python problems until you can do them in your sleep. Step 2, master that core toolset. Go so deep on Spark optimization that you become the go-to person on your team. Step 3, and this is the big one, choose your path. Commit. Are you a Databricks person or a Snowflake person? And finally, step 4, later on some differentiators. High-value skills like Kafka for streaming or Terraform for infrastructure. Stuff that makes your resume really pop.
So where should you be focusing your energy? This breakdown makes it pretty clear. Look at this. A massive 40% of your time and effort should be on that non-negotiable foundation. Another 30% on the core tools like Spark and Airflow. Your chosen specialization, that gets 25%. And that last little 5%, that's for the cherry on top skills. The message could not be clearer. Fundamentals always come first.
So, if we boil this all down to one single idea, it's this. The path to a top-tier salary isn't about collecting logos on your resume like they're Pokemon cards. It's about a focused, almost obsessive pursuit of mastery in the right things, all built on top of a foundation that is absolutely unshakable. Look, at the end of the day, the market has already spoken. It's made its choice. It is rewarding deep specialists in either the Lakehouse world or the Cloud Warehouse world. So the only question that's really left is which one will you be?